Hey everybody, it's Brett and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about new releases that are coming out in April. It's another huge publishing month and I thought I would go over some of the books that look interesting to me and hopefully to you as well, so stick around. All right, so I want to go over 10 books that are coming out in April that I think sound particularly interesting. Some of these I will tell you I have already read and liked them a lot, else they wouldn't be here. And I've also arranged them by publication date, so you can mark that on your calendars or you can write it down or however you record it in terms of when it's coming out. The first one I want to talk about is Ray Nayler's Where the Axe is Buried. Ray Nayler a few years ago wrote a speculative novel called The Mountain and the Sea, which I absolutely loved, which was about a group of scientists who made contact with a very beyond intelligent cephalopod and what happens and the kind of race to connect with this thing and against government forces. It was so good and I was like, who is this guy? This is his latest, Where the Axe is Buried, and it's great. It's very prescient in terms of our current times. It's all about authoritarianism in government, the use of AI. So this comes out April 1st. Also April 1st, Sour Cherry by Natalia Theodoridou. I love this cover so much, and thank you to Tin House for this. This is a retelling of the Blackbeard story, but told from a woman's point of view. I don't know much beyond that, but I think it sounds so fantastic. This is something I totally plan to dive into this month. So that also comes out the 1st. Then April 8th, Audition by Katie Kitamura. I had brought this up before. I am so excited about this. Basically, it says she's built a novel on an open question. 2 characters meet for lunch. One is an actress in rehearsals for her newest premiere. The other is an attractive young man who could almost be her son. Who are these characters and how do they connect? 2 stories play out in question: truth, roles, and performance. I've heard that this thing is just absolutely brilliant. So I can't wait to dive into this one. Again, that is the 8th of April, and thank you to Riverhead Books for this. Then there are 2 books on April 15th coming out that I've read both of them. The first I've talked about already, which is Seán Hewitt's Open Heaven. I read it last month. I talked about it briefly, about this young boy in the UK. It's a really, really beautiful book. That's the first. The second is Denne Norris's When the Harvest Comes. Denne Norris is the editor-in-chief of Electric Lit, and this is her debut novel. It is about the relationship between a young man who's queer, who is about to get married to this man who is basically like a Kennedy, like the perfect guy. At the start of the novel, our protagonist finds out that his father has died, and his father was a minister. They had a very complicated relationship, and it brings up all kinds of stuff for him and kind of what happens and what plays out. So this also out April 15th. Then April 22nd, a bunch of books, all of which I think sound really good, or I've read them and are very good. The first is a series of short stories by Marie-Helene Bertino called Exit Zero. I was late to the game, and so I just recently read Beautyland and absolutely loved it. So I'm very intrigued by this. Again, short stories, even though I'm not really into the short stories, but it says death-shaped entities with all their humor and strangeness haunt the 12 stories in Exit Zero. Vampires, ghost girls, fathers, blank spaces, day-old peaches, and famous paintings all pierce through the world into ours, reminding us to pay attention and look alive, and offering many other flashes of wisdom from the oracle and author of Beautyland. So that's really interesting to me. Then I'm seeing this book everywhere already, The Bright Lands by Sarah Damoff. First of all, it's such a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover, and thank you to Simon Schuster for this. This is a multi-generational story about a couple that meets in the 70s and their relationship. He becomes an alcoholic, and the toll that takes on their relationship going forward and what happens. It's an interesting book in that It's broken into 3 sections. Each section is devoted to another part of the family. So that's really interesting. It's really good. I think this is going to be like a big fat hit and have mass appeal for a lot of people. But this comes out as well on the 22nd. Also on the 22nd, I've spoken about this book before, The Pretender, which is actually going to be the next book that I'm going to be reading, meaning starting tomorrow, by Jo Haskin. This is a historical novel. It's been pitched as for people who didn't love Wolf Hall, they will love this. So I think it's going to totally give you vibes of like The Great, perhaps. I have no idea. That's just me making some wild guess. But it just says in 1483, John Collins' greatest anxiety is how to circumvent the village devil goat on his way to collect water. But the arrival of a well-dressed stranger upends his life forever. John is told he is not John Collins, but Edward, Earl of Warwick, the son of the long-deceased Duke of Clarence and the nephew of King Richard III, hidden in the countryside after a brotherly rift over the crown, and because young York princes have a habit of disappearing. Removed from his humble origins and set on a treacherous course to claim the throne, Edward is put into play by his masters and encounters Joan, a girl imbued with both extraordinary political savvy and occasional murderous tendencies. Joan has 2 paths available to her: marry or become a nun. Edward's choices are similarly stark: become a king or die in battle. Together they must form an alliance that could change the fate of the English monarchy. So that's The Pretender, also on the 22nd. And then the last book that I had listed for you for the 22nd is Zeal. This is the new book by Morgan Jerkins, who wrote Call Baby. Okay, so this is a massive multi-generational story that encompasses the Great Migration, among other things. It says, sweeping, textured, and meticulously researched, Zeal is both a story of how one generation's choices reverberate through the years and an indelible portrait of an enduring love. So I think this sounds epic and absolutely great. And then the last book I'm going to talk about is, it comes out on the 29th, and it's the new book by Annie Hartnett, who wrote Unlikely Animals, which was one of those books that really surprised me, and I thought it was good and quirky, and I really enjoyed it. This sounds very much the same. It's a darkly comic and warm-hearted novel about an old man on a cross-country mission to reunite with his high school crush, bringing together his adult daughter, 2 orphan kids, and a cat who can predict death. So it sounds very much in the same vein of quirkiness that she had in Unlikely Animals. So that's another one I'm definitely checking out. All right, so there you go. 10 books. I don't know if any of these are on your radar, if you've read some of these, or if any of these hopefully sound interesting to you as well. Let me know below in the comments. As always, thank you for being here. If you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe. I'll be back soon with not only my reading that I did for March, but my first quarter faves. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks again, and I will see you all soon.